All right. Hello, everybody. A little bit of a different setup for our Welcome to Week 10 presentation. We finally were able to get some Zoom accounts at the College of Eastern Idaho. And so I was given an account and I decided we might as well try it out. I just got it last week. And I'm fairly familiar with Zoom. I have just come to the realization since getting on here that my quality of my computer camera has gone downhill significantly, so I've ordered a new one. Hopefully it'll be here before next week's presentation comes around. In any case, I'm not going to spend much time in this format because I'm going to switch over to the PowerPoint presentation as normal, and then we'll discuss some announcements we've got going on this week, and a few other things that are sort of on my mind to discuss, to convey to you guys. So now let me share my screen and get over to PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so start us out here. Like I said, we're in week 10. So the semester's moving right along. The month of October is moving right along. Okay, so last week's Welcome to Week 9 presentation lacked audio for the most part, and it's an instructor error. I think I've gone back and I've tried to sort out what happened. There was supposed to be audio for the whole of the presentation. I spent time sort of going over each slide like I normally do, and I just realized my volume was down. Hopefully you guys can still hear me, or you could still hear me. Okay. So yeah, part of the recording got erased. So there's not much to sort of recap. I'm sure with the primary sources and the locations and some of that stuff, you guys got the gist of it. So I'm just there's just a little bit of information that I want to go over as far as what was missed in the lack of audio in last week's announcements. And then, like I said, we have Zoom now. And so I've been doing the office hour on campus in room 146, and I can't say it's been a smashing success. So I was thinking that we'll try to have a Zoom office hour instead, because maybe it will be more conducive to your schedules, that if you want to meet a sort of a virtual, an online meeting might be a little bit easier. So for the next 3 weeks, for this week through week 12, I'll send out a link to access. So you click on the link and it'll take you. So we'll be able to sort of have an online discussion through Zoom. So it's really easy, super user friendly. And then I'm also going to use a Zoom video to discuss the book review and then the other major assignments that are up. So basically just the book review, the peer review, and the learning summary, and make those into meetings so that if anybody has any questions, that you can join in, and as I'm explaining things, as you've looked over things and you've maybe come up with questions on your own, it might be a time and a place where you can get some of those questions addressed. Mid-semester feedback, I really appreciate. About half of the students in this class took time to do that, and I really appreciated it. It gave me some insights into sort of where you guys are coming from with the perspective of a student, and that's helpful. Like I said, I've been an online student before, but things were quite different back then, and online teaching today is different than I experienced it as a student. So there's one point that came up, and this always comes up with online meetings, and anytime I ask for, or not online meetings, any online classes, and anytime I ask for feedback, is that at least one person says, I really just don't like the discussion boards. I think we could do away with them, and that, I'd still get just as much out of the class. And I can understand that. I've had problems with discussion boards myself as a student. When I was a student, there weren't Zoom videos and different things, and there might have been, but instructors weren't as, it was a new way of teaching, a new way of learning. And so it was really in 2005, 6, 7, 8, it was really the early stages, and the technological know-how of most instructors was fairly limited. And so discussion boards would turn into a huge portion of the grade because there weren't other things. There wasn't a lot of online videos. There wasn't things that we utilize regularly now in online learning. So the discussion boards would become, you know, like at least a quarter, if not more, of your grade. And I used to have other students plagiarize my discussion board posts. So it would be like critical thinking questions. You know, you'd really have to dig deep into the material. But it was out there for everybody to see because other people would respond to. And on at least 2 occasions, I had students just copy and paste my discussion board posts for theirs. And so I became quite bitter about the whole discussion board thing. And it wasn't my sort of first idea when I became an online instructor. Oh yeah, let's do some discussion boards. But here's the reasoning behind discussion boards with online learning. That is that in order for us to be accredited as we are, we have to have, there are 3 forms of engagement in all classes, in all college level classes that are assessed in accreditation. That's student to student, student to material, and student and instructor. And so through feedback and through emails and different things, through my announcements, we have some fairly solid student and instructor interaction. And you guys are certainly getting the student and material interaction with all the reading and the study guides and the quizzes, the work you're doing week in, week out. So we then need to make sure we get the student and student interaction. And where at the beginning of the semester, CEI didn't have any kind of online meeting space, really apart from the discussion boards that are built into Blackboard. And so in order to have peer-to-peer engagement, to make sure we're meeting the standard for accreditation, we have to have the discussion boards. And that's because without that peer-to-peer, the student-to-student engagement, you get into different sort of forms of accreditation, like correspondence courses or these sort of things. And that's not what CEI does. They're not accredited for that. And so if we don't meet the standards that we have for the type of accreditation that we do, that's problematic. And you guys don't want the college you're attending to lose its accreditation. So for now, discussion boards are one of the main reasons or one of the main ways in which we achieve peer-to-peer interaction. And really, I haven't noticed a sort of lackadaisical approach. For the most part, in the discussion boards, I've seen some pretty healthy exchange of ideas and people getting in when it's sort of more of an opinion piece or whether it's more of a little bit of a research-based things. The discussion board participation has remained consistently pretty strong throughout the semester. So whether or not you're particularly enjoying it or not, you're doing pretty good at it. So keep up the hard work with discussion boards. We don't have a discussion board this week. Then we'll only have 5 more discussion boards, and week 16 will be the Unit 3 exam, and so there won't be a discussion board that week, except for I did include a questions and conversations board in case anybody has any questions, but of course those are not mandatory. No points attached with that. Okay, so speaking of interaction, and to return to student and instructor interaction, some of you received some emails from me about the source assignment. There was no real indication to me that there was very many problems associated with the source assignment. I only received emails from a single student asking for clarification. Nobody came to the office hour to ask about the source assignment. I didn't hear anything until the week 8 learning journals when they were due. I've been grading them during week 9. A few people started to say, well, I wasn't entirely sure about what I was doing with the source assignment, so I'm hoping that I wasn't too off base or something like that. And then when some submitted the source assignment, in the comments they said, I wasn't sure what I was doing with this. And so this is problematic, okay, because I'm constantly putting it out there for you guys to contact me if you have any questions. And so waiting till the very end to just sort of, preface your assignment with the fact that you didn't have 100% confidence in what you were doing, that's really problematic, because at that point, what can be done, right? And so in the future, I can't impress upon you guys enough that, especially as online learners, where we haven't been having video meetings, in class I would explain things. It's maybe a little bit easier to ask questions. At least I can read the expressions on students' faces, and I can tell if they're completely lost, or if I say, are we all okay? We're understanding. I get a few head bobs. People seem to get it, or they can stay behind and ask questions or something. I don't know. Maybe it's just a little bit more conducive to addressing questions and concerns. With online learning, I guess it's a little bit more of an effort. You have to get on the email. You have to drive over to campus and go to the office hour. These sort of things that are sort of, they depart from our routines. But with the future and with all college work, that's really what it takes to succeed. Certainly to do well, to get A's and B's, is to start early, so if you have questions and you have time to get them addressed. And nobody expects a first draft to be a work of art. Thomas Jefferson went through many drafts in writing the Declaration of Independence. Many drafts. There's a painting that shows Jefferson at his desk writing, and there's crumpled up pieces of paper on the floor because he was going through drafts. And then when he got a draft that he felt was okay, then he handed it over to others to say, have a look at this. So, the greatest minds in our country's history haven't subscribed to the belief that they can turn out their best work on their first try. And so it's foolhardy for students. I was the same way when I was a student, to think that you can sort of sit down on Sunday night at 8 p.m. and whip out a first draft, and then it's going to be A or B quality work. And a lot of them weren't. And so we're working through that. But this is just something that I understand that as a 100 level class, sometimes because I went through this, we have to learn how to be students as well as learn the material, and reaching out for assistance from the instructor and from the many resources that are available on campus. Librarians are trained in how to do research. And if you would have taken that assignment in and asked a librarian to help you, they would have been able to help you from top to bottom. The writing tutors, some of them are better with research and with sourcing material than others, but there's enough of a variety of writing tutors in the tutoring center that I'm sure somebody would have been able to help you. And so really there's no excuse for not getting the help you need. I don't know if I've told you before. I know I've told other classes before that anytime a student brings something to me, it's a judgment-free zone. The one student that did come to me and asked for some clarification, I was happy to address that question. And that student ended up getting a 100%. It was an exceptional piece of work. And so that's what I want to see as an instructor. I'm not looking to set up trick questions and see, to trip students up and, see who among the instructors can have the hardest tests or some of this kind of stuff. It isn't what gives me kicks in life. I want to see my students succeed and I want to give the tools to you guys to succeed. And I tried to give clear instructions. That was one of the questions in the mid-semester feedback survey was, do you feel like the instructions and the expectations in this class are clear? And everybody said yes. And so then to the next week, see these source assignments where it's pretty clear people didn't understand all of the instructions, but they didn't reach out to me for any kind of help. That's a hard situation from an instructor's perspective, because what do? I don't want to see you guys fail, but there was ample time and the ample opportunity to reach out and get help. So I hope to not see this situation repeated in the future. I will not be as lenient in the future with this sort of thing, because it is your responsibility, if you don't understand something, to seek clarification. It's my responsibility to make myself open and available to you so that you can address those questions. And I will do that. I will meet on campus, I'll meet online with a Zoom classroom. We can discuss things over the phone, we can email, whatever it needs to be, we can make it happen. Okay, so that's enough of that about the source assignment. Those that I've contacted about the source assignment, please stay in touch with me. If you have any questions or concerns, then let's make sure we get those addressed the second time around. Okay, so today, Monday, the 29th of, oh, that's not right, next Monday, the 29th of October. We're still the 22nd. It's the last day to drop courses and receive a W on your transcript rather than the grade you earned. So that just means it won't impact your GPA, and it might do better for you in the long run as far as any kind of financial aid than getting a failing grade. If anybody has any questions, midterm grades were posted last Monday. And so if you have any grades, I haven't received any emails about any questions about midterm grades, but if you do have concern, then please come to me. This is the one part of last week's announcements that I am going to revisit here in just a minute to discuss midterm grades and just the points generally in this class. And then after that, the rest of the time, I'm going to talk to you about the Unit 2 exam. Okay, so this is from last week. They were submitted, like I said, last Monday. And it's pretty self-explanatory. Those grades, the midterm grades, which are not going to count, they do not get recorded in an official sense in any way. So it's strictly for your student sort of to clarify your standing in the class, so that you can sort of assess your situation before that withdrawal date swings around. Okay, so those grades, because they were due on Monday and assignments for week 8 were due on Sunday, there wasn't enough time to include the grades for week 8. So instead, the grades just reflect weeks 1 through 7. So that was a possible 495 points. Another 120 points would have been gained during week 8 because of the source assignment being included in there. Okay, so then if we take weeks 1 through 8, that would be 615 points. Okay, so then last week, beginning on Monday, the points left in the course from weeks 9 to 16 are greater than all of the points we previously earned. So what I conveyed in my audio that did not get recorded was that if you feel as though you're on the right track, you've got an A or a B and you're feeling good about things, then just keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right track, and you just need to stay consistent. Really, at this point, it's about perseverance as much as anything. You know what you're doing. You know the technology. You've got a feel for the reading and the way that the class works. So just keep doing what you're doing and persevere. For those of you that do not feel entirely happy with where you're at as far as your grade goes, then please see this as an opportunity that there's still a lot of points to be earned. And certainly, if nothing else, there's still the possibility to pass the class. even if you aren't in the running to get an A or a B, there are still enough points if you've done even some of the work. There should be enough points for you to, if you really buckle down and get the majority of the points that are left, then you should be able to pass the class. And if that's a concern, then please don't hesitate to talk to me, and we can work it out, you know, down to the numbers, and see where you're at. But certainly I think there's reason to feel confident that if you want to do well, if you want to turn things around, there's the opportunity to do so. Okay, so like I said, any concerns about the midterm grades and whether or not, you know, that withdrawal deadline is something that you need to be mindful of, then please contact me. Okay, one thing I failed to mention is the office hour. I'm going to do the Zoom office hour at the same time, the same day as the face-to-face office hour. So today, 5 to 6 p.m. If somebody needs to meet at a different time, apart from Mondays, 5 to 6 p.m., just email me and we can set up an individual meeting for you. Okay, so now into the exam. So it's all
right. So the
okay, sorry guys. I had a moment where I thought I was just recording on the PowerPoint, and then I remembered, no, still recording. So I had some previous recording, because for the most part I just copied and pasted as far as the exam stuff goes, a lot of it, and I guess that audio carried over from last time. But so what I'm saying there when I say I carried over a lot of the stuff is that it's the same setup, the same 12 matching questions, 15 multiple choice, multiple answer, both of those at 2 points each, and then 6 location identification at 1 point each, and then 3 extended response questions at 5 points for a total of 75 points. So this Unit 2, the Unit 2 exam just covers the material in Unit 2. It's not comprehensive, so it builds on Unit 1, but there are not questions directly related to Unit 1. I'll have, just like with our Unit 1 exam, I'll have the grades back to you guys no later than a week from the due date, all being well with my power and Idaho Falls power not shutting me down again for no reason. Okay, so let's see, an hour as far as the time limit. At the end of that hour, the exam will close, so it's not an open-ended thing. Again, with the last exam, you're welcome and encouraged to use your own study guides, any previous quizzes that you've taken, and any notes that you've taken. Please include in those notes the game that I've put up for the Unit 2 exam, the sort of practice game. There's going to be some information in there that you will certainly see on the exam. So at least go through and play that. Get together with classmates if you can, or family members or something if you can. But certainly go in and go through the different boxes, whatever, and take notes. It will prove beneficial. However, do not collaborate on the test, during the test, or in any way about the test. Do not use outside resources, so do not be leaving the Blackboard and going over to other online sources. And generally, again, it's your responsibility to be familiar with what constitutes academic dishonesty. It's in the student handbook, and so do not commit any form of academic dishonesty. I hate to have to address those situations, and so far with every online class that I've taught, I've had to address online situations. I think the first time I had to do it was with the first exam that I gave online. So there are different ways that students can go in and, or sorry, that instructors can go in and see information. All the statistics are available, all the times that students began and ended, and these different things. And there are some pretty clear indications of when there's been some cheating going on. And so please just avoid that in any way, shape, and form. Okay, so then those extended response questions. So last time you had them in advance, and again, here they are in advance. There's 5 instead of 6 this time. So you choose 3 of these to address. Please, when you give your responses, mark, you know, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it just cuts down on the time that it takes to grade if I don't have to go back and say, okay, I think they're responding to number 2. Be sure to put each response in a different box rather than putting them all in the same box and then leaving 2 answers, 2 questions blank. 1 response per question. Again, let's see, let me switch over. We're going to be looking at college level writing and college level critical thinking. So with the writing, useful sentences, no fragments, no bullet points, because these need to be well developed. Like I say, sentences, thought, critical sort of insights into the questions. Make sure you're being specific, making references and giving examples to specific identification terms that we've discussed throughout the class. So don't just say, like was last time, you know, laws imposed on slaves and free blacks. You know, use slave codes that were laws that imposed restrictions on slaves and free blacks. So you're making evidence-based arguments. So this is why it's important to sort of rely on the assigned material and specific examples, is because I want you to use evidence from that material. When I start to see evidence, I'm like, we didn't talk about that in class. It's not in the material. It wasn't anything that I brought up. Not only is it suspect for cheating, but oftentimes it doesn't fit what the response should be. You know, it's taken out of context or something. Make sure you're using evidence, not opinions. You're avoiding I statements about I feel this way or I think or in my opinion. We went over the other stuff. So then I'm just going to leave you, I have just a couple more slides. So we have sort of an upcoming where we're going from here. So next week we begin our last unit, Unit 3, and that will extend from week 11 to week 16, with week 16 being the exam. So there's only going to be reading and sort of new material for weeks 11 through 15. For week 11, we have a normal sort of weekly structure, which is the study guide, the discussion board, the quiz, and the learning journal due that Sunday, the end of the week. And then week 12, same structure with the addition of the book review. Same with week 13, same structure with the addition of the peer review. And then weeks 14 and 15 are just the regular weekly structure, except for we have the Thanksgiving holiday thrown in at the end of week 14, and then as far as the school is concerned, there's going to be some time off from classes, I think extended through that Monday. So then the on-campus classes, I believe, will resume Tuesday. And so for that, I mean, I could just say, well, we're going to keep to our regular due dates, and you know, you'll just have to work ahead of time if you don't want to work over the holiday. But I know that if you don't have to go to class on campus, and a lot of students in the online classes take both online and face-to-face classes, because that is what works best for schedules sometimes. I've had students that go away, you know, over the holiday, And it's pretty hard to pack and make plans and get work in. And so rather than stress you guys beyond sanity, I extended the due dates for week 14. So instead of being due that Sunday, all the work for week 14 will be due that following Tuesday. But bear in mind, the work for week 15 is still going to be due on Sunday. Unless you have some extraordinary circumstances arise and then those need to be addressed on a one-on-one sort of basis. And then week 16 is the Unit 3 exam. Now this is just like the Unit 1 and Unit 2 exam in that it's a self-contained unit exam. It is not comprehensive. There is no final exam in this class where you go back and you're tested on the material from the beginning of the class to the end of class. What is a sort of cumulative sort of approach to assessment, I guess, is the learning summary. And that is where you go back over all of your learning journals and look at, what kind of stood out to you each week and sort of reflect on it for a time and then write, a learning summary. And we will discuss that more in time. One thing to note for that is that it's going to be due on the Saturday. Both the Unit 3 exam and the learning summary are going to be due on the Saturday rather than the Sunday. And that's just because final grades are due on Monday. And so I have to have Sunday and Monday to be able to grade all that in order to submit final grades on time and not have the registrar knocking at my door, which I don't know that she would, but she would get pretty up in your business if you didn't have grades submitted. So in order to uphold my professional responsibilities, I'm making a change to the syllabus, and rather than being due December 9th, the exam and the learning summary will be due December 8th, but they will be released, or the Unit 3 exam will be released the previous Saturday, so you still have a full week to work on it. Okay, and then, they say that the holidays are some of the most depressing times of the year. I don't mean to get depressing and sort of add to that for anybody, but this weekend, I don't even remember what I was doing a Google search of, because I was kind of stopped in my tracks by this. So I typed in college students and then, Google gives you all the most popular searches. And so this is what came up, and I read over those and I was going, okay. And so like I talked about with there being resources as far as any questions you have regarding assignments, I do just want to also emphasize to everybody that there are resources on campus and in the community also to help with any kind of this stuff, with stress or mental health, depression, sleep. I also work for the college in their College and Career Readiness Center. So I teach language arts to students that are trying to pass their GED or trying to get their writing up to a college level so they can get into English 101. And so between the College and Career Readiness Center and the College of Eastern Idaho, we work a lot with the community and different organizations. The state of Idaho has a lot of organizations. And then the college itself has a lot of organizations that primarily operate out of the Center of New Directions. And so, like I said, I just want to emphasize to you guys that if you are having any things that you're kind of having a hard time with, just like if you have questions about the class, you don't have to just keep those to yourself. And if you want me to be a sort of point person to help put you in touch with any of those resources, I would be happy to. But as a college student, as a member of this community, there are a lot of opportunities to get assistance if any of you should want it. And I'm on different organizations and stuff for academics, and a lot of the stuff that I see, the literature that I see coming down the pipeline, is that students are busier than ever. A lot of students have families, a lot of students are working full time, and then they have classes on top of that. And so things can get really intense at times, and I sympathize with that. And so just like with questions you have about the class, anything that you bring to me that you would like me to help you with, or to reach out to find some help with, it's a judgment-free zone. But certainly going into the sort of the last stretch of the semester, I don't want anybody to give up or give out. That happens sometimes. I see students that are rolling along pretty good, and then all of a sudden they're just not turning in assignments, and I wonder, what in the world. And I think there's a real chance for burnout. And so please don't let that happen. Please contact me, and so good luck with everything that you have going on, and particularly I'll leave you guys with well wishes for this exam this week, and I'll check the questions and conversations board and see if there's any questions up there, but certainly be in touch with me if you'd like to discuss things more privately. Okay, so with that, I'm going to end our first Zoom video, and yeah, I'll see you guys, I would say in the discussion boards, but probably most likely I'll see you next week in the same lovely fashion, except hopefully with a new video, so it'll be clear. And so I'll have to clean my office before next week. Okay, all right, have a great week. Good luck on the test. Be in touch with any questions.